So you may be aware that the US has just released a new food pyramid, and it's basically just an inverted version of the old one. Now you might look at this new pyramid and feel very confused because we've been told for so long to base our diets off whole grain carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables, and avoid animal fats. This new pyramid is saying the complete opposite. It's telling us to base our diets around animal fats and animal proteins and keep our carbohydrates to a minimal. A very interesting thing about this new pyramid is that it's getting closer to resemble the likes of a ketogenic diet, which fundamentally a diet's focused around fat in the absence of carbohydrate. This allows the body to have a metabolic shift and go from a sugar burner to a fat burning metabolism. And the fundamental base of a good ketogenic diet is the consumption of animal fats and animal proteins, just like this new pyramid is recommending. So in this video, I'm going to outline the top 5 things that you need to unlearn to be able to understand why forming the basis of your diet around animal fats and animal proteins is actually a very good thing. The first major point that you need to unlearn is that carbohydrates are essential. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate in the diet. You could never eat a single gram of carbohydrate again for the rest of your life, and you will survive and you'll most likely be very healthy. Now, I'm not saying that glucose isn't essential. Glucose is essential. There are cells in your body that require it to function appropriately. However, this glucose does not have to be taken in through our diet. It may surprise you, but we actually don't need a lot of glucose in the body at one moment to function normally. At any one time, we have about 4 liters of blood in our system. And in that blood, at one moment, we need around 1 teaspoon of sugar. So you can see that's actually quite a small amount of sugar. The amazing thing about the human body is we have a very clever liver. And the liver is capable at producing our own glucose to meet our needs perfectly. Unlike dietary carbohydrates, it is essential to eat enough dietary fats and dietary proteins to meet our essential nutrition needs. So this is where basing your diet around these essential nutrients, which are found in animal fats, animal proteins, is actually a very smart thing to do. By understanding that you don't need to eat carbohydrates, you can start being more confident in eating more fats. And this is great because fat is another source of energy for the body. And unlike carbohydrates, eating fat and relying on fat for energy is something that the human species has been doing since the dawn of time. So the actual concept of fueling your body around whole grains and carbohydrates is actually far more foreign to the body than we believe. It's far more appropriate and normal for the body to actually function off these animal fats because for most of our existence, that's exactly what we did. Having access to grains and breads and pastas and very sugar-laden fruit is actually a modern thing. So moving your diet away from the grains and the carbohydrates and basing it around animal fats is going to help align your body back into its natural metabolic state. The second thing that you need to unlearn is that animal fats and cholesterol are bad for you. This is not true. It's been a well-known belief for a long time that eating saturated fat and cholesterol is going to give you a heart attack. And the truth is, there is just no strong science to support this claim. These original beliefs were just beliefs. They were based off unethical and biased science that drew conclusions from association, not causation. It seems more apparent that there is an inverse relationship between increasing cholesterol levels and all-cause mortality, meaning higher cholesterol levels are associated with longer lifespans. And this would make sense when you understand the role of cholesterol and what it does for us. Having cholesterol in the body is completely essential. If every little bit of cholesterol left my body right now, I would be gone. See you later. Bye-bye. It's so important. Cholesterol and saturated fat form the structural elements of every single cell in our body. They're also essential in the production of our steroid hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. So without these essential nutrients, the body wouldn't be able to function or thrive as well as it could. So the idea that something so important is also the cause of modern disease like heart attack, is just slightly illogical and is quite hard to make sense of. And this is because these claims just aren't true. Moving on, the next lie that you need to unlearn is that you must eat the rainbow and 5 a day keeps the doctor away. I have come to learn that this is not true. The premise around eating the rainbow is you need to eat a wide variety of plants in order to meet your nutritional needs. I always found this slightly confusing because there are loads of plants, there are so many colours out there. I can't eat them all, so which ones am I meant to eat? How do I know I'm getting my essential nutrients? So to answer this question, I had to find out what are the essential nutrients in the first place? What does a human body need to eat? From this research, I realised that eating the rainbow and eating a wide variety of plants will not meet my nutritional needs. There are certain essential nutrients that you cannot find in plants, but you can find them in animal products. However, there's no essential nutrients that you cannot find in animal products that you can find in plants. So actually, if you want to make sure that you're reaching all your nutritional needs and getting every essential nutrient your body requires, focusing your diet around animal products instead of plant products is a much better way to meet your nutritional needs. Plants are nutritionally incomplete. There are things that the body needs that you cannot find in any plant. These include essential nutrients like B12, K2, D3, or essential fatty acids like DHA. These nutrients cannot be found in a bioavailable and appropriate amount in plant foods. One of the major issues with plant nutrition is the lack of bioavailable complete protein. Now you could be thinking, oh, but quinoa is a complete protein. Okay, maybe you will find all the essential amino acids in there, but is it bioavailable? And are they in the quantities that a human body needs? And the answer to this would be no. On the other hand, meat animal products provide all of the essential nutrients in the quantities we need them in a very bioavailable form. We can eat meat and we can break all the nutrition down and actually absorb it. This cannot be said for plant foods like quinoa. Fourth thing you need to unlearn is the belief that vegetables are an elixir of health and the best thing you could eat for your body. And it turns out this isn't true because plants are trying to kill you. And I know saying that is very provocative, which is why I like saying it, but there is an underlying truth to this statement. All species, whether plant or animal, are in an evolutionary arms race. We are all trying to survive, to pass along our genes and reproduce. Animals can do this well by running and kicking and fighting and biting to protect ourselves and reproduce. But plants, they can't do this because they're rooted to the ground. So in order to defend themselves and survive, to reproduce, they rely on chemical warfare. This means that plants produce chemical toxins in order to harm or kill predators. And it's funny because instinctively we know this. When I was growing up, I was always told by my mum, Lucy, don't eat the red berries off the bush. They're poisonous and they'll make you very ill. So I didn't eat the red berries and I knew that they were bad for me. But of course our modern day vegetables aren't as lethal as some of the other plants on this planet. We're not going to drop dead from one bite of broccoli. Of course, I can appreciate that. But it's important to still not ignore that these plant toxins do exist and they can actually be far more harmful than you think. Not only can they actually harm our structural elements of the body, they also contribute to the nutritional inadequacy of plant foods in general. A lot of these plant toxins like oxalates and tannins and phytates, they can actually bind to other nutrients in the food and further prevent us from absorbing them and gaining any of this nutrition, making plant nutrition even more inferior and harder to utilize when compared to animal products, which do not contain these toxic defense chemicals. Plants also have another element that can make their nutrients much harder to absorb for us, and that is fiber, which brings me on to my next point. The fifth thing that you need to unlearn is that fiber is essential. Fiber is not essential. You're never going to have a fiber deficiency. I know, this one shocked me too. It really took me a long time to want to believe this one and grasp the understanding because for so long I thought that fiber was essential. I thought I had to eat it, else my colon was going to fall out and I was going to die in a week. I was so sure the human body needed fiber. However, it turned out I was wrong. You could not eat fiber ever again and not die. However, there are a few things to understand with fiber, because fiber is better described as an anti-nutrient. It can block and prevent the body from accessing other nutrients in other foods that you're eating. And if you contextualize this in a diet high in ultra-processed food, so a diet very high in inflammatory seed oils and refined sugars, eating something that is actually going to block these from being absorbed to your body could be very beneficial. And that's why I don't think fiber is always good to avoid, because if you are going to eat these foods, then to also eat something that's going to block your body from accessing this would be a very good idea. I think the benefits that people think fiber is giving them is more related to that fact rather than the fiber itself. If we want to contextualize fiber in a diet that's based around animal fats and animal proteins, foods that we are meant to eat, foods that we want to gain the nutrition from, we can then see the logic and reason behind actually not eating fiber and choosing to have a fiber-free diet. There are also a lot of other myths surrounding fiber, and that is that it's essential for bowel movements. It's not true. Ask any carnivore, they still will go to the toilet. We also think that it is essential for gut health because of its fermentation properties. Now, maybe there is some benefit here, but I don't think this process is essential. The main reason why people think that the fermentation of fiber in the gut is so beneficial is because it creates something called butyrate or butyric acid. The body can then use this butyrate to create the ketone body beta-hydroxybutyrate, and it's this ketone body that is claimed to be beneficial to health. The interesting thing here is gaining butyrate to synthesize and make this beta-hydroxybutyrate ketone body. The fermentation of fiber is not the only way to gain this. We can take it through the diet, through things like butter. Beta-hydroxybutyrate is also created on the other side of the lumen when your body is in a ketogenic state. Beta-hydroxybutyrate is one of the main 3 ketone bodies formed when you're in a ketogenic metabolism, a metabolism running off fat instead of carbohydrate. So back to this new food pyramid, moving your diet away from carbohydrate and starches and to one of animal fats and animal proteins can allow you to create this beneficial beta-hydroxybutyrate ketone body, which fiber fanatics claim is so important. So just some food for thought there. I suppose to sum this all up, I'll give you one thing that you should learn. We've done a lot of unlearning, now let's see what we should learn, and that is the understanding that animal fats and animal proteins will provide you with all the essential nutrients that your body requires to survive without any of the negative toxic compounds. Eating meat is the most species appropriate food for the human body. There's no evidence that eating meat contributes to heart disease. And in fact, it seems that when eaten in isolation, like a carnivore diet, people are able to reverse diseases that we initially didn't think were reversible. People are reversing type 2 diabetes, they're reversing heart disease, they're reversing kidney disease, they're reversing things like multiple sclerosis, arthritis, autoimmune disease. The list is very long, and this is because meat is the most fundamental thing to our diet. It is the thing that the body thrives on, and it's the one food that the body has been eating since the dawn of time. So I think I'll leave it there. I hope you found this video insightful. Thank you so much for listening, and okay, bye!